little bit here because you talk about simple things, and most folks know you as an artist, but I also know you as a restaurateur.
Oh gosh, I cook more food, and oh my God.
I was wondering if you could tell us about your restaurant in Willis Wharf and everything around there. It was in Painter?
Yeah.
So it was out on the Stone Road, as they used to say.
We were big time. We actually had traffic. Come on. Yeah. And how that all began, my dad really, I never fit into the wholesale part of seafood that much, or even the seafood market more, but we always wanted to have a place that was just very basic, very good, and reasonable for the average person that would want something out to eat could do that. And that's what we did, and it like took off, and it grew and it grew and it grew. All the women that I knew, I got them to come with me. And we did this as a kind of communal effort. And so all my cooks were the black ladies I grew up with, and they taught me how to cook. I can throw down now with the best of them, from turnip greens to collard greens to sweet potato biscuits, sweet potato pies, every kind of cut or whatever of fish or whatever. And, you know, art and food are so intertwined. It's such a beautiful thing when it comes together and you have people around you that are in it as much as you are. And we only, had on our menu, when we first started off, we had a little chalkboard. That's what we had. That's what come in today. That was picked out of the field today. That's what you ate or you didn't eat, And then as time went on, it was just so much people, we built on some more, then we built on some more, then we built on some more, then we built on some more, until it was like the weekends of just staying in lines outside because there were so many dishes that we did that people had forgotten about or just weren't going to do. And we, because it was too much involved in preparing these dishes. And
what are some of the ones that people forgot about?
Oh, gosh. One of the best ones is baked tomatoes. That was almost like a dessert, but it was a side dish. And so cheap to make. A lot of it was very cheap. That's just like the black culture could take nothing and make it be like, oh my God, That was one of those dishes. It was chopped diced tomatoes. A lot of people canned them themselves or had bought them from the store or whatever, and used stale bread. You used butter, vanilla, sugar, and that was it. And you dumped it in a bowl and mixed it all together, and you dumped it in a baking dish, and you baked it until it kind of caramelized around the edges, and on the top it kind of bubbled. You knew when it was ready to come out. And because that's what soul food means. A lot of people misinterpret. Soul food means, the taste, the look, the feel. It's like, it. You can't put that 2 cups and a quarter or whatever. You get it, and then you fine tune it, and that's within the soul. It's like, when it lands right where it needs to land. Like a lot of times, this was used so much, and I love it, and it really relates to everything. you're fixing a dish or whatever. I say, I have Miss Bessie Edwards from Hare Valley helping me do that. And she's like, I said, you think they're ready to come, whatever? Baby, just let them rest. They use that a lot, making breads and all. That's a big deal. Baby, you just let them rest. Because it's so true. You get caught up in doing it all. Sometimes you just need to let it rest. And then the flavors just kind of come into each other and all. And that bubbling of those baked tomatoes, letting them rest in there a while, they just kind of marbleize all the flavors. You take it out and someone has it for the first time, like, oh my God, that is unbelievable. And it come from like a 39-cent canned tomatoes, chopped, the scraps of them, a little bit of sugar, a little vanilla, a little butter, and stale bread. If you use fresh bread, it wasn't as good. Use stale bread and mix it together and put it in the oven, let it rest, and it comes out, and it's like, wow, And that's the way they approach, I've told you before on how, when the families, it was crazy time, trying to survive, but having a meal was the biggest event of the day, sometime of the week or the month, depending on, because they were baking for or cooking for their family, and everything they put in it was so much more than just slinging it in and doing this and all kind, just sling it to get it together. Now sometimes that happened, but and when you come to the table, it was like this kind of feeling come over you that this was something more than just food. It was cooked by probably your mother or grandmother or whatever that you loved, and that the family in other areas, like the father had probably gotten some fish or something or vegetables and stuff and brought it, and it all comes together, and it was kind of honored. It's like people today, oh, just give me this, I don't care, whatever. That is not good, because that was our binder. It brought us all together at one time to sharing something that was so much more than just having something to eat. Like today, I hear it, well, give me this and give me that, and one I'm going to eat in the bedroom, one I'm going to eat over here and all. I think it's one of the biggest dividers of family life in the country. That, because with that come, what happened today, even if it was minimal and all, it's still that all coming together just really was huge, because no matter what you're struggling with or whatever, you're sharing a space, a time, a place, and thankful for food and the people that put it together.
Thinking about that, is you and I have talked about different kinds of fish.
Oh, yeah.
And if your words in today's conversation, as we're thinking through this, is I've become mindful of our conversation on drumfish.
Oh my God, that was like a time stood still when I remember we would get called. I remember my mother was going in surgery at 10 a.m. for possibly breast cancer, and she was a total wreck. And one of the head nurses in there picked her hand up, and she said, "It's gonna be all right, whatever." She said, "Mayor Emily, have y'all got any drumfish yet?" That's how much, to go in that environment and ask the woman that don't know if she's gonna, live or not, "Have you all got any drumfish today?" She said, "I don't know." I mean, she said a few other things, probably, I don't know. But that was like the first big deal when, coming out of winter, coming into early spring. Have y'all heard anybody that's caught a drum, this, that, and other? And, I mean, it was like people would start coming from Philadelphia, Maryland, all over that had lived here because we were the only people that ate it, which is, that tells our status, I guess. But oh my God, they would fight over a drum. They might sit side by side in church. When it come to a drumfish, you better have yourself ready because they were going to tear you up if you're going to take theirs. And we were the mecca for drum for both counties and all. My dad would get people would call him from Louisiana. Kenneth, we got like 2 tractor and trailer drum. The draggers read the thing and thought it was another type of fish, and we loaded up with them. We can't give them away. So my dad said, load them up. There'd be a tractor trailer from the floor to the ceiling, 40 feet back. And all we had to do was pay for the freight. And my father, oh my God, I mean, it was like, I'm going to do a painting of what that looked like in the back of our fish market with people coming in. There were people coming from Delaware, everywhere. Once it got out, just a couple people, it went, and they were throwing them on top of, station wagons, the racks and stuff in the back. The people come down, have new cars and all. Go ahead, baby, throw that right in the trunk. I don't care. We can clean that out. I mean, and even motorcycles have they have 2 tails sticking out. You're like, really? He goes, man, I'm taking these babies back. Because that was just like, people said, I had drum last night. Well, they're like glued to it. But yeah, I mean, a drumfish, say, an average 40, 50 pound, nice, decent sized drum, they knew how to get every little piece. Besides cleaning it and getting the meat off the side and the way they broke it down, because we would hang them from a rope, and I would, cut them, which I was taught, and then put a little slit in the top of them. And after you cut them from the bone and all, then you just snatch, and a whole side would come off like that. And then it was the ribs where the stomach come. We would separate the rib. The rest of it would be steak meat, pure meat fillet. Then it was the carcass itself. The bone structure, the tails, the fins, the head, the meat and the cheeks of the fish, and they would devour it down to there was nothing left. And you could cook it any way. You could grill it, you could fry it, you could broil it, you could bake it, you could anything. And it's a really firm fish. I love it. It's one of my favorite fish. But wow, that was a game changer. And, some years it wasn't real plentiful and all. Well, I mean, they were just, decimated from, oh my God, have enough to go around or whatever. But and a lot of people would clean it and then fill their freezer with it because they knew they could pull that out and make the best soups and chowders and stuff with the backbones, boiling them with the meat that was left on them and all. Oh my God. And white potatoes and drum tails and fins, and just awesome taste. And from a fish that no one else, we sold a lot of fish in Fulton Market in Baltimore and Boston and all up in that. No one would take it. No one. They would eat red drum in Louisiana because that's black and red fish. But the black drum was like the stepchild that never, but boy, if it weren't for a drum at that time, because we needed something from the end of the cold part of spring till, it started to warm up, I don't know what we'd have done, because it was that big of a deal to fill that space in, And then usually by then, toward the end of it, strawberries would start coming off. Peas would come off, and some asparagus would start to come off, and like the meal for a king of the shore would be drumfish, asparagus, and strawberries, fresh cut strawberries, and fresh garden peas, and homemade biscuits, and they just make you smack somebody. I mean, it was that good. And if you told somebody they didn't have it, they were just really, they were like really hurt by it.
So drum was, when we've talked about drum and these other things, is it...
Drum could be a whole book about drum and the culture and all the things from it, because the Indians used them. We had several tribes of Indians from Pocomoke and up that way in Maryland come down when we were cleaning them, and they would take hatchets and chop the top of the skull, and right in the top of the skull is their balance stone. That is a stone that lays in there that keeps the drum from not losing its balance and all. And when they would chop that bloody thing and chop a hole of it like that, they would pull out this stone that looks like a ivory, arrowhead. I mean, they were crystal white. I mean, they were absolutely, it was hard to believe it was in that head that they had chopped to get. And then people started making stuff from them, from different Indian tribes that still did it. And also the rib bones of the drum, they were about, they weren't real thick, but the bigger end at the top, and then it would curve and then taper to a point. They would take them, they would ball the meat off and all, take them, and then they would drill holes in the top of them and use them to sew like in, I guess, in different stuff they killed and stuff. A whole thing on all of that, and they had some type of thing about the drum that, thinking that they had them, because they made a lot of headdresses out of them, used them in their clothing, because they had and the scales of them were amazing. Guitar picks, everything you could think of, because some of them were as big as that a piece, and they were like, when they were cooked and boiled off and all, they were semi-transparent. But a lot of people made some really famous guitar picks out of them. They had just the right thickness and the right stiffness for that type of thing. But also use them a lot in head or some of their dressings and stuff, Well,
I think of drum and these other things is the new year. The new year is not January 1st. The new year is when the drum and then everything else comes
Yeah, that's
up.
like the first thing of new life, you know. Yeah. And it's just like here, it's just like a different feel. It's like something comes over me that's like a renewal and rejuvenation of life and abundance, and that we're all going to be okay. Because when I was a child growing up young, I had, and I still have anxiety horrifically because of, you know, it's baked in my cake so bad. But when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, I was scared to death. How are we going to make it? It was that bad, you know. We lived in a house, 2 rooms down, 2 rooms up. You could throw a mule through the side of it, and no running water, pump outside, outdoor toilet until I was in my way, like 16, 17 years old. No heated water, no nothing. You washed and bathed and everything in one old enamel sink that we had, and you would freeze to death in them houses. I mean, right on the edge of the creek. You know, there were old poverty, balloon construction where they run this straight up, no dividers, nothing. Oh my God. Windows freeze on the inside. So yeah, when drum hit, that was like a celebration, you know, of okay, it's coming. We're gonna be okay, you know. Yeah. I know it sounds strange to people that lived in Main Street America, but here, I tell people all the time when I travel, I say, you know, you just don't understand until you have that isolation. And we had nothing to draw people here. We didn't have industry. We didn't have any other things at that time. You know, we had fishing and farming, and pretty much that was about it. And not, you know, anything that people would come in here. It was a very hard place to, and then still to love it like I do, you know. But that's what makes it so amazing today. Now people come over here. I remember, and I know you did, like, be right on the other side of the bridge, stop, and this isn't that long ago, and still stop at 7-Eleven, Wawa, whatever, to get a drink or something before you come over. You go, hey, where are you traveling, whatever? Oh yeah, we live right over on the Eastern Shore. And they go, where's that? I'm like, really? You know, like, is that close to North Carolina, whatever? I'm like, no, opposite direction. And when you tell them, like, oh my God, I never ever know. And every year now, coming up in my gallery, we have so many people that come come all the time from over there to be that short a distance into a different world, you know. But
I don't quite want to give up on fish yet, Dan.
okay.
Because you notice you brought up the question of the drum, which is the fish that gets no respect, except for here. And there's another fish that got no respect. And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do, and I know you're going to do it to me too. He got respect from me. Because,
tell us about, shall we say, pufferfish?
Pufferfish. No, we called them toads. Yeah, the swelling toad. Oh my God. Growing up, and my dad being from the Barrett Islands, such a tyrant. Nothing was the excuse not to work 7 days a week, because you never knew if that next day something would be so bad you couldn't. Now you get it as you get older, but we have had, you know, people used to junk fish, pufferfish, whatever, but swelling toads is what they call them. Toads or swelling toads. And they are to look at them, they're not the most beautiful thing in the world. They were to me, but, and to clean them, oh my God, to clean them, we would have truck after truck after truck after truck. The fish traps down by the bridge, they would get, when they were coming in the bay and all, they would get truckloads of them, and they'd blow up and almost blow the truck side to side when they do it. We had to skin every one of them by hand because you couldn't give them away if they weren't skinned at that time. And there was a part about how their skin and all was that only if you lived here you knew it. But anybody come here, they had no clue. So you would clean a swelling toad with a shoe knife, is what they called it. It was a short knife with the handle and the blade. It was about that long, a big kind of chunky handle and a square kind of blade. You would pick the toad up by the head, and you would pick it up and then push it down on the table. So the head's here and the tail's coming out this way. And you would take one cut right behind the head and then take the knife and hold it on the top meat where you cut, and like that, and rip the skin, filleted flesh of the toad, and that would go in a container. And that's one movement if you got good enough, and I was, because I did it since then. So one cut all day long, really, really hard. But there's one of the elements of that fish, you had to wear gloves. So if we had a greenhorn come up and want, oh, I'll help do that. Oh, you sure? Oh, yeah, that looks easy. Okay. So we did. We didn't offer any extra nothing. So we're doing it, they're like, oh, well, this isn't too bad. I won't want to do it all day or whatever. Well, after that evening we finished whatever we had to do, they said, oh, yeah, that wasn't bad at all. And the next day, they would come and go, what did you do to me? What did you do to me? I'm like, what? Their skin was like the most horrific, prickly sandpaper. You could sand the side of this building with it, and you had to use protection. If not, you took the entire first, second, third layer of meat off of your hand, and when you couldn't move it because it would crack and split. And it was like, they go, oh, God, we forgot to tell you that. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, did you notice everybody had gloves on? And sometimes wear the glove out and have to put another one on, because they will tear you up. But they are awesome. And of course, my dad, at his burner, when they first ones come in, he would skin them, then fillet them off that bone so it looked like a finger, like a pure meat. And my chunky little self, my lips were already ready for him. And he'd take pure lard and put in that frying pan, let that get real hot, and then bread them up and fry them in there. And I would, I don't know how many I've eaten in my life, but I eat a lot. And And that's when they give me my nickname after some time of doing that.
You don't have to say.
Well, I know you want me to, so.
No.
No.
It's up to you.
No, I'll say it. I'll wear it with honor in his name. They call me, my real name is Daniel Todd Doughty. Then they started calling me Daniel Toad Doughty because I was in the middle of them all the time, because I knew at the end of the day we were going to get a nice frying pan full of, and oh my God, yeah, they're amazing. I like to have some right now. You know, you don't see them that often now, but yeah, that in itself was a very that was a tough, you know, doing the whole process from them coming in just as they are and cleaning them and washing them. And then also they had a fish roe in them that was so good. So you had to keep the roe. God forbid you lose some weight, you know, by that. And and the fish roe was amazing too. I love that. We sold that too. But yeah, the toad was the poor people. They're the ones loved them. They're the ones knew what real food tastes like, you know. The others, and then later, as it got to be, you know, something really sought after, the higher echelon, you know, kind of grabbed a hold. But yeah.
Well, Danny, that brings us, I think, to a wonderful stopping point.